Howdy, everyone. My name is Parker G. I'm just kind of a guy that does 3D printing. It's one of my hobbies, and I really struggled to get into it at first. So I'm going to walk through my steps on how I got into it and made this decision to make that purchase of getting a 3D printer. So this is my 3D printer on the screen right here. I got an Ender 3. It just what I researched and what I bought, and I've really enjoyed it so far. My first step that I got into was just researching and watching YouTube videos over 3D printing. So there's tons of people on YouTube, especially, that explain 3D printing or just show what they print. So this guy's Mars Gizmo, probably butchered that, has countless of little YouTube shorts on everything he's printed. And I think it is really, really cool. Even I watch these today, even though I have a 3D printer. So like, here's a little example of one. Oh, so it's a crystal dragon that articulates. So he just prints it all in one go, and that's it. That's all you have to do. You just pop it off the print bed. I think that is super cool. Another one of my favorites is Scott Ujan. He does upgrading of his Ender 3. It's a different version of mine, but it's almost the exact same thing. Mine's just a little bit more upgraded. He does his upgrades and just how he's printed stuff. So like, that looks like an Xbox, but it's not an Xbox. He printed that with white and black filament is what they call it. It's like your little printing material. He also has made a portable Mac Mini, a desktop. Why? Because he can 3D print. Again, super incredible. So after you are interested in 3D printing, you're gonna want a printer. So there's thousands of dollars worth of printers out there, but there's definitely some budget options like this Ender 3 V2. This is the exact printer that I have, and it works phenomenal. It's from a brand called Creality. You can see they have their Ender series, and it just has a ton of different printers. And so the Ender 5 Plus, it's going to probably be a little bit more expensive, but it's going to be bigger. So you just have to research and see what you want to get into. I recommend above a $200 price range, just to get a good quality printer that you're not going to have to hassle with, and it's not going to break on you because it's going to be pretty high quality. So I got the Ender 3 V2 on the Ender 3 series, and like I said, it works phenomenal. Some things that I chose this printer for is these adjustable knobs. It helps you get that bed tension super good. It's just these belts that tension the bed. They are what control the motors back and forth. So it just makes it a little bit easier. They also have a good UI, like they hit right here. So it's upgraded from this screen to this screen. Much easier to work with and see, in my opinion. So after you choose your printer, you are gonna set it up, of course. So if you like me, like an instructional video, just search it up, how to set up an Ender 3 V2. And there's gonna be countless YouTube videos. And you're just going to want to watch them before you get your printer to see if you can do it. That's what I did. You can see I went through, this is a 53-minute YouTube video. You can see I've almost watched all of it from that red bar. I probably backtracked a couple times too. Same thing with this 24-minute video. Started this one, went into this one. You can see how there's this is just one printer from one brand. So you can see how many YouTube videos you can find on this. Again, research it to see if you can do it, because I know it's a technical hobby. It's kind of intimidating to get into, or at least it was for me. And so once you choose your printer and get it shipped to you, you just got to set it up. A quick note here, when you set up your printer, you're going to want to make sure that you set it up the best you can, because every little axis misalignment, you can see how it has those upright bars. If those are just a little bit out of line, any which way, it's not going to print the perfect quality. It's going to have a little bit axis misalignment, and same thing with this bottom bed. So just make sure that you pay attention to that. Another thing is you got to be very careful around your printer's power supply. Since it is a big machine, it's got a pretty hefty power supply on it. So just make sure that you are careful with that and you're not setting it on the carpet to prevent from that static electricity. You're going to want a nice clean work area where you're not going to lose any parts, tools, and where you can protect that power supply. So once you got that all set up, you can find something to print. There's a lot of websites where you can download free files. You don't have to know how to 3D model anything. In fact, I haven't even 3D modeled anything. So my favorite is Thingiverse. You can see I have it bookmarked up here because I go on it quite a bit because I like 3D printing. You can see there's some fun prints like this little boat to test out how your prints are doing. There's also a whistle if you needed to buy a whistle, but overnight you're like, I got to go get it this morning. No, you can just print it, and it's going to cost you maybe $2. Same thing with the headphone stand. If you needed a headphone stand, you can print it. That's just one headphone stand out of thousands probably. There's some fun prints like those cute articulating octopuses, and you can upgrade your printer. There's just countless hinges. The list goes on and on and on. Battery boxes. You can see I printed some fun things. This is from a show that I watch. So I thought I was just going to do practical prints like a headphone stand or like hinges or stuff to improve my life. But I got like this little Appa from Avatar Last Airbender. So this is a good example of not everything comes out perfect. It's missing 2 legs, but what can you do? Right here, I have a little whistle or ocarina. So those are just a few examples of what I've printed so far. Next, to get into going from that file from Thingiverse into the instructions for your printer, that's called an STL file and then a G-code file. So the G-code is the instructions and the STL is just the 3D model. So one of the most widely used is the Ultimaker Kira, perfectly free to download. I have no idea why. I would pay $100 for this software. It explains, or it does everything for you. So right here, I have my Ultimaker Kira pulled up. You can change the view a little bit to see what your print's going to look like on the bed. You can choose your printer so you can see how it says the Ender right there because it's on my Ender 3 Pro. Right? I know I said I had a V2, but it's kind of the same thing. So you just have to look out for that. Again, just research this, and there's going to be tons and tons of guides on YouTube, especially. And so once you have that, you can get your prints and put them on the bed where you want them. You could print 2 at the same time. I don't recommend that because if you're just getting into it, I haven't done that, but you can just delete one and then boom, you have something here. It's super easy to get caught up in all these settings. You can see the infill, the walls, the material, the speed. So if you just leave them with their standard settings, like if I go to quality, I can change the quality of it, just standard. And then I've changed 2 things, but I have no problem changing them back to normal because these settings are the recommended and they are good for most prints. So again, it just slices from that STL file to the G-code file. It just slice. Just like that, it tells you how long, how many grams, and I'm not sure what that one is. Never needed to know. So then you can preview it and it will show you how it's going to print on each layer. And then you can just save to your disk. If you have a thumb drive set in there, it will say save to removable drive, and it does all that for you. Once you have that, you can just plug that SD card into your printer and you can get ready to print. You can see this is what the printer looks like. So you're going to want to print or preheat the bed as well as the nozzle. So what that does, it's going to allow those to get into the equilibrium. The glass is going to expand a bit, and same thing with this extruder. And so it's going to be in there. Again, research it, and there's going to be guides to do that. It's all in the settings. You can see I have this little extra thing because you have to level each bed. So your bed is not going to be perfectly level to this nozzle, not necessarily to the ground. Um, that was a real issue for me. And so I just got this upgrade for it called auto leveling. And what this auto leveling does is it goes through and creates a 3D mesh of just how the bed is leveled. Um, we can see a video of it doing it right here. So it just goes through. You can see how it moves back and forth. And that's just the X and Y, and then the Z is up and down. It's going to go straight to the middle and just barely touch it to see what Y level or Z level that is at. It just goes through and does it for each and every single one. So that has made my life a lot easier. This next one is you're gonna want to put some adhesive on the bed to get that 3D print to stick perfectly down. With my glass plate, it has a little bit of a texture, but the glue really helps. So I just use some Elmer's glue, the purple invisibility stick, the non-toxic, and that works perfect for me. I know people use like hairspray, but my method of choice is just the glue stick. And that was the video. So that's it. That's my method. So each of those steps I went through, you're going to want to go and research on your own, a little bit more in depth so that you know exactly what you're getting into. This guide is supposed to be a introduction into the hobby, not necessarily telling you how to do it. Again, this is your hobby, so you got to figure it out for yourself, and it'll be super fun.